What's up, party people, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast featuring me, your host, Paula. Today, y'all, I want to tell you all about funny stories from my high school. And I have a lot of funny stories because I did a lot of weird stuff in high school, and you're about to hear about it, and I'm really excited. So, let's get this party started. Welcome to the Polycast. Starring me, Paula Kushensky. Alright, welcome back, you guys. Alright, so first thing I want to show you, this was my senior year improv shirt that I've kept all these years. I'm 27, so almost 10 years. We got to customize the back, and I picked You're Killing Me, Smalls XD, because I'm quirky. Okay? And I'm really proud of it because I'm small and I was killing everybody with my talent. So, and then the front, it's Donkey Hoties was the name of our troupe. Don Quixote, which I'm pretty sure is a book and not at all about improv. Maybe it was like an old style comedy. I don't know. And then this was our logo, a weird donkey head, and then kind of had it's giving a little Mexican donkey. And then we were the Don Quixote players because we played improv. So I'm really proud of this. I'm really proud of my time. I was a troop leader, so pretty cool. And if you go back to my school, I have a little brick because I was a Hall of Famer. Because of, like I said, my talent. So I was pretty excited. So, okay, I wanted to tell you a little bit about what it was like to be an improv. First of all, one of those things where clearly everyone wants to be an improv, and it's seen as very cool and not at all nerdy or weird. Honestly, I felt like our school really did have like a popular improv troupe, and I think the reason was because a lot of the people that we had in improv weren't theater kids. They were more like the hipster outcasts who were like really into The Office, and they were all so funny. And then so I saw my first improv show, and I remember on stage they were doing improv comedy, and I thought it was so funny. And they were like sitting in a canoe. There was like a canoe at one point, and I was like, this is where I want to be. So I auditioned to be in improv, and okay, so basically you have to like do all these like improv scenes, and then they like sit there. There was like a bunch of people who were like the theater director and then the troupe basically, and they all like sat there and they decided if you were funny enough. And obviously they loved me because look at me, I'm a killer. And so they were like, we must have her. And so I got in, and I was really excited. I was like super nervous to audition. I remember in my audition, this other girl was in my scene with me, and she tried to give me a hug, and she hit me in the arm really hard, and it really hurt. But I needed to be professional, so I couldn't let that it hurt, even though it hurt really bad. And so that's the kind of professionalism that I bring to the stage. Is I am very committed, and I really believe in my art and my craft. So anyway, we did this scene, and it went good, I think. And then unfortunately, that girl who in the scene with me, um she's passed away, so that's a bummer. Very sad. But that was not, that's a different time. So I got in, and I was like, this is so fun. And so then I did improv my sophomore year, junior year, and my senior year. Most people aren't proud to be an improv, but I am, okay, because it was my first introduction to comedy. Like, I didn't even think about stand up. I wasn't like in the world of stand up or comedy. Um and I just saw this troupe and thought they were just the funniest thing in the world. And if I hadn't done that, like I don't think I would have really gotten into like stand up later. If I wouldn't have gone into improv, I feel like I would have gotten more into theater, like in like the kind of way that it's like kind of I don't know, there was like a split in theater. There were like the funny kids that were like funny, and then there were kids that were just really intense. And I feel like I would have become the intense kids and not the funny kid. So I will say we were cringy though. Like we were a cringy troupe because we would practice every Thursday, and then once a month we had a show, and our ticket price was $2 whole, you guys. All right, that's like $7 nowadays. That's a pretty hot ticket. And so we would put on a show like once a month, and I remember we would wear our shirt from earlier. We would wear that on our show day. And then we would write on the whiteboard in every single class, improv show, 7 p.m., be there. And it was like we were evangelizing but for improv. And honestly, I thought our troupe was genuinely kind of cool because we had like some jocks on our troupe. Like it was kind of fun in the beginning. Well, it was all the way fun. I do think it got less cool over time. Like when I started, I think it was cool. Then by the time it ended, I feel like we didn't have the same like thing going, but it was really fun. Oh, I want to tell you guys about my first ever improv scene at a show. So this is my first show I'd ever been on for this troupe, and I was really nervous, and actually I got really good advice, and I carried this advice with me in the stand up, and like it'll always stick with me. And I don't even remember who gave it to me, but it was one of the cast, like other people in the troupe. And they said it's really scary until you get like your first big laugh, and then everything you kind of calm down. And I still feel that way now in stand up, like going out on stage, and then you get that very first like big laugh, and it just feels like all of your stress melts away, and it just feels so cool. But we were in this scene, and it was very disorganized, and honestly, I think it went down in history as one of the worst improv scenes we'd ever done. Um, but I crushed. It was everybody else's fault. I was amazing. And there was this one part where I did this soliloquy. I think the game was called Soliloquy. No, I think it was the game Town. This means nothing to you if you don't know these games. But for the game we played, you have to like come up and talk. So then it would have been soliloquy. You have to come up and give a soliloquy. Like, while all the other characters in the back are like frozen. And I came up and I did mine, and it was like so like it seemed like everybody really liked it and got a big laugh. And I remember feeling like that was probably the first time ever in my life on stage I had gotten a real laugh. And it was the coolest moment ever, and I'll never forget about it. Except I will say for the rest of the year, that scene was mentioned as like the worst scene in our entire improv. So you win some, you lose some. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite parts of improv was at the end of the year we would have senior night, and it was a senior show. So all the seniors would go and they would do a show, and then afterwards we would all sit in like our black box, which is like a theater term for like the classroom or whatever. And we would all just like say nice things to the seniors, and the seniors would all read the other kids letters to, and it was this like really unnecessarily emotional experience. Like people would just like bawl, and it was we were giving too much. but um but every year I looked forward. I just wanted to be a senior and have everyone cry over me. Okay, that's all I wanted. Was like for years I was like, one day I'm gonna be a senior and I'm gonna get to read my little letter, and everyone's gonna be like crying and being like, we love you and we miss you, because that's what we did for all the years. And then guess freaking what? Senior year, my turn, end of the senior show, I'm like, all right, it's my time, baby. I'm ready for everyone to, you know, cry for me, cry their little eyes out. And some stupid idiot, who I don't remember who it was like, I think it's kind of weird that we all get super emotional. So why don't we just like not do that? I had a whole letter prepared. Okay, I was like I remember just being so upset, but then I had to act like I wasn't. So I was like, yeah, no, like I hated when we all did that. Like, can we just be normal? But inside I was like, cry for me. So anyway, that was fun. We did that in regular theater too, like anytime a production closed. Um we were like all so sad. And I remember one time, like, it was my senior year and it was like a play. And it was like a fine play. Like, it wasn't even that great of a play. And I remember I felt so emo that I like went and sat in like the back of the theater and just like sat there quietly by myself. And I was like taking it in. And everyone was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's just crazy, you know?" I was insufferable. But I will say I watched a lot of High School Musical 3 that year, and I think it got to me in not a healthy way. So I was just like in that nostalgia, but like still in the middle of the year. Anyway, okay, so that was my improv experience. We played a lot of fun games. We did like short form improv. Um, Also, I'm so sorry that I have a cold. It won't go away. So that's why I sound like this. Okay, so next I want to talk about being in choir. Okay, so I was in improv and then I was also in choir, and I joined choir mainly for two reasons. One, I did it in middle school, so we just keep doing it. And then also my best friend was doing it, so I wanted to do it with her, and she was really good at singing, and I just was wanting to be there. And then um also I was had a really big crush on this man. Well, he was a boy. He was in high school. But I'm just gonna say his name. His name was Gabe, and he was such a good singer, and I was smitten. So I thought I would join and kind of like be a part of the group, even though we were never in the same choir together because he was way older. And then also like there was a special choir called Bob, which is called Bella or Savoci choir, and it was like for all the really talented kids, and I was not ever invited into that choir. So I joined for someone who I literally never saw. But okay, here's the funny part about choir. We only sang the most boring songs. Like, we never sang anything fun. It was always like very choral opera songs. And then I remember them always being like, "Give me more energy." And then I was like, how? Like, you can't move. You're in this robe, like you're in church, and then you can't move. And then, so they want you to, like, give energy in your eyes. So this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go like this. That's how you're supposed to give energy. It's all in the eyebrows, okay? So you're supposed to be like, you see what I'm saying? Don't you feel my energy when I do that? Um, and so there was this one time. Oh, also they always said they're always like stay loose, loosen up your muscles, but then you have to stay perfectly straight. It's very weird. Okay, so they always told us not to lock our knees because we were gonna pass out. And I didn't want to pass out, but sometimes it would get so boring that you'd be like, I just wish someone would pass out so we had something to do. So sometimes I would try and lock my knees to pass out, but I could never do it. So, and nobody else could either. So I just wanted one time for someone to pass out just for something fun to happen. So anyway, we had this one show where we were practicing that day, and then we had to stand on the bleachers, and um our choral director was like, "More, give me more. We must like just give me more energy, more eyebrows." And so I was like, "Fine, I'm gonna give him everything, okay? I am gonna eyebrow him to death." And so I did. I put on my wildest facial expression. Then I was like that. And then after the concert song, we were in rehearsal, and he goes to every single person. He was like, little more, little more, little more. And then he pointed at me and was like, little less. And he was like, little more, little more. And I was like, bet, that's what you get, you know? So that was my choir experience. And then, oh my gosh. Okay, so the last year, 12th grade, I quit choir because I never really liked it that much. I was just doing it because everyone else was doing it. And I did child development, and then that year was the year that I had to take the baby home. Y'all remember? Okay, but we were like Gen Z millennials, so it wasn't a sack of flour. We had a real animatronic baby. And we had to take it home, and I remember, like, okay, so you can't let the neck fall or it, like, screams. And then when it's hungry, it screams. And I have since worked with babies, and they don't just randomly start screaming. Like, they have other tells that they need something. But this baby was obviously not real, so it would just like be like this, and then it would just go ah, and then like start screaming. And so I had to be a mama for the weekend. They sent it home with me. Friday night I had swim practice, so my baby had to go sit with my mom. So my mom drove me to swim practice. No way. Yeah, I'm confused because why would my mom drive me to practice as a senior? No, this was ninth grade. I'm sorry. Child development was in ninth grade, and I took a different class in 12th grade. I'm confusing you guys. Okay, back up. In ninth grade, I took this child development class, and this is where we got this animatronic baby demon thing. And so I remember that first night, my mom had to drive me to swim practice, and then she had to sit in the bleachers with this fake baby. And like looking back on that, like how weird must that have felt for her to be like a fully grown adult woman and you're sitting with this fake baby, just like it's just not even like, and you're an adult, you know, and people are like, I feel like people were probably worried, like, do you even have a kid here right now? Why? It must have looked so confusing. So, so that was the first night. My mom babysat for me while I was at swim practice. And then Saturday, my baby was a reverse cycling baby, so it would be fine all day. And then it would wake up like every 2 to hour and a half at night, which is also not like a realistic feeding schedule for infants, okay? Infants eat like every 2 to 3 hours when they're really little, and then maybe like 4 hours when they get a couple more months under their belt. No infant is just eating like every 90 minutes at night and then not at all for the whole entire waking day. Like, that's not real. So, but my baby did. That baby done woke up all the time at night. And you had this bracelet that you had to like use to activate it because, that way they always knew it was you. And so the first night, Saturday, I got like no sleep. Well, Friday, I got no sleep. Saturday night, I got no sleep. So then finally, it was the last night I had the baby, and it started screaming in the middle of the night for the freaking thousandth time. And I woke up and I remember being so physically sick because I had just like gotten no sleep. And then also, like, real moms who are up all night, they're supposed to sleep during the day, kind of, okay? Well, not me, okay? Because I did my normal day stuff and then they just probably stayed up all night. So I was basically up for like 3 days straight with this not real baby. And anyway, I remember waking up and being so sick. So my mom had to freaking feed the baby for me. So I like put the little wristwatch on so it calculated that it was me. And then I went back to sleep. And then my mom at 3 in the morning was feeding a pretend baby. Wasn't even a real baby. So that was just the weirdest experience. So you guys, I don't know if y'all took the baby home, but if you did, you should drop your experience down below because it was so weird. And then, so then you turn the baby in on Monday, and they make you have it Sunday night. And then they make you get up and go to school all day on Monday. And like no other classes know or care that you've been taking care of this fake infant. So you're just like exhausted, and everyone's like, you're just being having a bad attitude. And you're like, I'm a single mother, okay? I'm a teen single mom. This has been a very exhausting weekend. Anyway, so then I got a 98% on my baby, which is pretty good. I think that was probably the highest in the class. Um, and it only took literally every ounce of sanity and energy that I had for the whole entire weekend. Oh, I wanted to talk about my ACT experience. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, I got an 18 on my ACT. Um, so everyone should share their ACT score. I'm team 18. Anyway, so the first time I got my ACT score, I took it and I was horribly ill, but you can't like be sick for the ACT, so I just stayed all day. You have to sit in this classroom for 8 hours. Basically, you can't even read a book. You just have to sit there with this test. And it's the most insane thing. I am 27 years old, and I can honestly say that I have never been in that situation ever. So if you're a kid right now and you're like, well, my teacher says that this is the real world, let me tell you, it is not, okay? In the real world, you know what the real world is? Going grocery shopping and then forgetting something and then going back to the grocery store and then having to run to the bank, and then also you're like, I should probably work out today, and then you're also like, I also need a job. That is the real world, okay? It's not 8 hours of ACT. Anyway, I didn't do so hot. I felt terrible. And then they had all this like team building at the end of the day, and I just walked home because I was like, I'm dying. So I went home and I was sick, and I told myself that's why I got a bad score. So then I retook it again like a couple weeks later. Um and it happened to be a Saturday, and it was at this like other place because you can only take it in your school like once. And so you had to go to this other place, but the night before was the Saturday show. It was like a one of our musical nights. And so I was at Mexican Village late, okay? I didn't have time to study or get a good night's sleep. I was partying at the Mexican Village off virgin margaritas, virgin daiquiri, and chips. And so I got home at like midnight. I had to wake up early, go take the test, got the exact same score. And so I was like, you know what? I don't need a scholarship. If I would have gotten a 21, I would have been given like $5,000 off of my school. And I just was like, it's not worth it. Like, this isn't worth $5,000. If I was my mom, I would have been like, you're going to take it until you either get a 21 or you can't go to college. Like, this is crazy. But I just took it those 2 times. I would love to take it again. I'm sure I would get a worse score. But I remember one girl was like, "Ugh, I got a 20. That's so bad." And I was like, "Yeah, girl, you really need to like kick it into high gear." And yeah, I think the worst I've heard someone get was a 16, and I got 2 points above that. So, um, anyway, oh yeah, and then for the last story I wanted to tell you guys was when I was a senior or a junior, you had to have no detentions to go to prom, and y'all know that I got asked to prom, and so then I had to serve my detentions, but I was late a lot, so I had a lot of detention. And you don't have to make them up by a certain period so they can carry over. So our administration gave us a day where if you came in for an entire Saturday, you could serve like 16 detentions. So it was like a 2-for-1 for like 8 hours. And that was my only hope. So yeah, I went to detention for like 8 hours, and I went with my friend, my best friend at the time. And honestly, we had a really good time. Like it was definitely a ball. But in hindsight, I probably just you just got to sit there and read books and write. So I basically just it really wasn't much of a punishment. But I shouldn't have been late, and y'all should be on time to stuff because that will affect you in the real world. Your ACT means nothing, but if you can't show up on time for things, you will make people mad. So be on time is I guess the lesson of this podcast. And yeah. So anyway, those are some high school memories. Yeah, that was interesting. Maybe I could do more high school memories. I have a lot. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope y'all have a great day.